Anyone who has seen my channel has probably seen my video about Euro Truck Simulator 2. Because yeah, this video kind of broke my channel. But there I answered why this game is refusing to die. However, there are still few things that I left out that need to be discussed. And those are some important things that will help people to decide whether this game is actually worth buying, or more importantly, whether it's worth their time or not. So in this video, we're going to be discussing Euro Truck Simulator 2 and whether it's worth buying for new players, or rather why it's worth buying for new players, whether it's worth returning to, and what are some hidden costs that not a lot of people are actually telling you, including me, which I apologize for. So let's talk about that. And as always, as every single one of my reviews, I'm not gonna be wasting your time and give you those answers right away. And of course, for the new players, it's absolutely worth it. If for nothing else, just for the really low entry price. For the returning players, it is absolutely worth it as well, because the game has expanded quite a lot since its original launch more than a decade ago. And for the hidden costs, yes, there are hidden costs, and those hidden costs are actually DLCs, but they need to be discussed in order to understand why they're hidden costs. So let's talk about everything Euro Truck Simulator 2. ETS 2 is a game that requires no introduction. It has been around on Steam for more than a decade, and almost everyone has seen at least something about this game. But if you're one of 5 people who have never heard of this game or doesn't know what this game is, then let me explain in a few words what it is. It is basically a truck simulator where you are driving a truck, delivering goods all over Europe, or where you are in charge of trucking company, controlling other people delivering those goods. That's a simple explanation as it can get. The game is mainly in the first person, and the core mechanic is driving trucks. You choose your job, you get into a truck, get a trailer, and just go towards your destination. The game features 1/6 size of actual Europe, and people are mostly playing this game because of its relaxing nature. And it is. You're basically driving a truck without most of the issues of the real world. Like, there is no serious traffic, except for some cases. There are no issues with customs. You just drive around and delivering goods and just enjoy the scenery and enjoy the music of the game as well. And that basically makes it the perfect YouTube game, if you'll ask me. Like, where you have 2 monitors set up, on one of which you are playing the game, and second is reserved for YouTube. And it's really relaxing experience, and I absolutely love it, and many people do as well. And if you like management instead of actually working yourself, we can focus on that aspect as well. But granted, it's not as fun as actual delivery of goods by yourself. And this is very short and very simple explanation, but yeah, that's not really all. There are some small caveats that need to be understood. Granted, even though I will talk about those as a downside, they're not really a downside. Don't get me wrong, they are not really a downside, and I will explain why. Before that, let me finish with the great things of the game. Well, first things first, it's extremely cheap. You can always get this sub $10, even sub $5. The second, game is incredibly big because of its mod support. Game has an extensive modding community, adding not just cars, allowing you to basically drive not just trucks, but the regular cars as well. They also change some gameplay elements, make driving more realistic and more fun in many cases, and they also add entire countries and sometimes even continents to the game, allowing you to drive in countries and in places where game originally does not allow you to do that. And then what's fun is that installing those mods is not that difficult as well, because of pro mods. But with pro mods, you can actually have a lot of different mods very easily installed into your game. And probably one of my favorite mods of the game is Truckers MP. Yes, you can actually play this game in a multiplayer, and not just a regular co-op multiplayer, which original game, the base game, has. This actually transforms this game into kind of like an MMO, where almost every car you see around, mainly of course concerning trucks, all of those trucks will be driven by other players, and where you actually need to communicate and find out where other players are, what they're doing, in order not to get into traffic jams, in order to avoid some disastrous situations. That's probably one of the most insane part of the game. Granted, it is not as relaxing as playing first person, because you always see some crazy maniacs that are driving 100 to 200 miles per hour on an opposing side of the road, trying to crash into anyone and everyone they can, but it still has its own charm. And what's a cherry on top is the music and radio of the game. And yes, the game actually has a radio which features dozens of different stations, including a bunch of different languages and a bunch of different music genres. And also they feature a real live DJs and real live people talking into those radio, giving you updates of the state of the game, including the Truckers MP, and also having different advertisements like for different guilds and clans of the game. And with those things, this game is transforming not just into a game, but into some type of lifestyle. But we need to talk about downsides. This is a thing that you need to be prepared for, and let me break this down step by step in order to get you prepared as much as possible. Well, first things first, that's the DLCs of the game. You see when you get to the Steam store, you're gonna see a few types of DLCs. Most numerous ones are of course the trucks and trailers, and usually those are cosmetic. Those are not a big deal. So if you'll never look at them, you'll not lose a lot of different things. But what's important are location DLCs. These are DLCs that are adding actual countries and huge locations into the game. Like for example, base game does not feature entire country of France, and you will need actual DLCs to get it full. You won't have a huge part of Scandinavia, you won't have a Baltic regions, you mostly won't have the western part of the Black Sea, and yeah, the base game, you don't really feature entire Europe. You're not even featuring the half of it. Most of the countries and regions were added later during the years of the development of the game, one by one through the different DLCs. And that's the thing that will scare most of people, which in my opinion should not and should at the same time. Well, first things first, it should not because the base game features quite a huge chunk of Europe anyway, so it will take quite a lot of time to actually visit everything and do everything in this part. Second, you're actually free to choose which DLCs to buy. You don't really need to buy all of them except for one reason, which we're gonna touch in a second. Yes, those DLCs are getting deep discounts as well, and you can get them one by one based on the regions that you will have, and eventually you are going to get them all. That's actually how they're funding the development of the game for more than a decade now, and that's understandable. In my opinion, they fully deserve it. You can also get them in different bundles as well, allowing you to buy multiple different countries and regions at the same time, but issue will arise if you are going to use a lot of mods. You see, you'll need some DLCs if you want to install some mods, especially if you want some location mods, and unfortunately for many, that's a hidden cost of the game. Now granted, even with all of those things, even with all the DLCs combined, except for the very latest ones, game is still not expensive and still way worth it. And don't think for a second that if you want to enjoy this game, you will need to buy all the DLCs right away. Base game will still be more than fun for you, but things like that, it needs to be said, because I myself did not say it in many of my videos about this game, and it was my fault. I should have said that, because that was actually an issue that I faced myself within me. So yes, overall, the base game is absolutely worth it, and all of the DLCs are actually quite good, and you need to be buying them one by one. Do not buy them all at once, unless you can of course do that. And this video is sponsored by you. By you just being here, you help this channel immensely and help it to move forward and to exist. And if you want to do just a little bit more, you can always subscribe to the channel to not miss videos like this one, and like and comment on this video to help it move upwards in an algorithm. And if you want to contribute even more, you can always become a channel member by hitting the join button and gaining some exclusive perks. Thank you again for just being here, and now back to the video. And if you're interested, why did I think that ETS 2 is an undying game, the game that refuses to die, you can watch my video about that right here. And if you like ETS, you probably like racing games as well, so you can watch my list of 27 best racing games right here. Don't forget to subscribe right here as well. This is review for today, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Take care.